Okay. We do record so we can share later in case anyone has to miss our trainings, they have access to what we covered. So, the team has changed a little bit since you guys maybe saw or were interacting with us last year. Um, Chris, you probably know, Chris is out in the community all the time as our president and CEO. Lisa and him tag team our fundraising. Lisa is the director of philanthropic gifts. She started in February of 2021. My name is Brittany. Like you guys know, I've been at the foundation since 2018. Mostly doing when I started just grants and program or grants and scholarships. Now have moved into some nonprofit programming and doing some fundraising training for development professionals with Lisa. Bob Longo is our numbers guy. He is all things financial. He does our what does he do? Oh, our taxes, our payroll, our 990s, all that good stuff. Erin helps him on that side of it. She's our admin and database manager. She also does a lot of our operations. She's currently the one in charge of, so I don't know if you all know, but BCF just bought a new building. She's been in charge of that whole process, as well as helping us with figuring out some renovations and some design. And then Selena does our administration and scholarship coordination. So the team has grown significantly, and we're really excited to be in a new space where all of us fit well. It's very exciting for us. So about the foundation, I think a lot of you know who we are and what we do. We were established in 1953 by a group of Rotarians with the premise that we were going to give back to the community. We've been doing that ever since in a variety of ways. Scholarships is one of those ways. Donors basically establish funds in an area that they care about, whether that be a student going to college or funds to a charitable organization. The funds that we have are scholarships, community grants, donor advised, designated, and agency funds. Everything but scholarships kind of center around the nonprofit part of it and giving back to the community and those that do the work. We are governed by a board of directors, and then we have several committees, including the grants committee, which is what these subcommittees fall under, is our grants committee. About scholarships in general, this year we're going to distribute over $294,000 to students through our scholarship program. That includes ROTC scholarships at OSU, Western, University of Oregon, and I believe Southern, and then all of our high school scholarships and our college scholarships. So for graduating seniors and current college students, mostly the current college is at OSU. That's where most of our college scholarships are kind of centered around. Scholarships at BCF is a year-round process. We start reviewing and updating our materials in the fall. Selena and I will do a hard look at our application to make sure that the questions we're asking are still relevant, that we're up to date on what kind of terms we should be using, and checking in with other foundations on what they're doing. In November, we're going to do, that's when we determine our scholarships amounts. That's board driven. So we have a set 4% spendable that the board then directs how we, are allocating funds. In December, we start checking in, and well, I say December-ish, we start checking in with all of you to see if you want to be on the committee again. And then we also start recruiting new members. This is also when we start doing a lot of our promotion. Our scholarships open December 1st. So they open kind of early. And so we're starting to do high school visits. We're starting to talk to students. We're starting to do social media outreach. Same thing in January and February. Most of our applications and scholarships come in. Our applications were due February 28th. Most of them came in like February 26th, 27th, and 28th, like a big bulk of them. So We're kind of trying to get students to apply early. That doesn't really happen, but we're promoting regardless. So we do that basically December, January, February. March, we're doing orientations with you guys, and this is when we start breaking out committees and start reviewing scholarship. April is when the subcommittees would be sending us your recommendations. May, we approve your recommendations with the grants committee and the board. And then in June, we start doing our high school award ceremonies, which are super fun. So grants committee members, board members, and staff go to the individual high schools that let us. Some of them are still not taking visitors, and that's fine. But we go to the ones where we can, and we present actual certificates and awards to these students. By September, we have paid out most of our scholarships. So after a student receives their scholarship, there's some follow-up paperwork that they have to send to us in regards to like filling out an actual acceptance form that they are still doing the major that they said they're doing, still going to the school that they said they were going to, and then giving us proof that they're actually going there in terms of like a transcript or a enrollment letter, and then we send the money to the school. And that usually we try to get done by the middle of September. It never fails that there's a student who has still not gotten their stuff in by September 1st, and we're tracking them down. But we try really hard to get that paid before they start classes so that it doesn't interfere with their tuition and their bills. All right. So subcommittee expectations. So I expect that you're going to read, evaluate, and score all your applications that you're assigned. And I expect that you're going to do this before you meet with the other members of your group to decide a recipient. It is very, very important that when you score your applications, those scores get entered into the online portal. This is our backing document. So if a student ever came to me and said, I don't think I was fairly reviewed, did you even review my application? I have proof that we did. I never tell them who you are, of course, that's confidential. I never tell them their individual scores from each person. I can tell them their overall score from the committee. This has never happened, but it is very important that I have the backing documents in case it does. So make sure that score gets into the online portal, not just on your spreadsheet or however you're reviewing. Definitely needs to be recorded. And then you're going to meet with your group to decide a recipient and an alternate. Now, not every scholarship has tons of applications. Some only have one. So obviously in that instance, you wouldn't have an alternate. If you are one of the reviewers that scholarships have multiple awards, so some of our scholarships have 2, 3, one scholarship has 5 different awards, we would need an applicant and an alternate for each of those. Okay. Just some deadlines. So Selena and I are still working really hard to assign evaluations to everybody and make sure that the committees are correct in our portal and that everyone's added. We anticipate that that will be done by March 10th. A lot of them are done right now. There's just a few that we haven't quite finished. After March 10th, you guys are welcome to log in and do your initial scoring and review. And then by April 14th, subcommittee recommendations need to be sent back to Selena. So every subcommittee is assigned like a committee chair or a committee leader. They will be the one to schedule the meetings and do like the reporting back to us, and we will make sure that everyone knows who that is when we do our intro emails. So the subcommittee meetings that I'm talking about are typically arranged by the committee leader. We have some people on here that are on kind of different committees that I arrange those meetings, but it gets arranged either by me or a subcommittee leader. Those meetings can be done however your group is comfortable. So it can be done on Zoom. It's sometimes done by email. It can be done in person, over the phone, whatever you guys want to do. You're welcome to use the BCF office spaces. So we have a conference room now that holds quite a few people. We're really excited about it. You're welcome to use that space. You would need to arrange that with Selena, but it can only happen during our office hours, of course. So at your meeting, you need to bring a list of your top 3 candidates. So it's really helpful if you not only score, but then have your top 3 so you guys can kind of discuss, because frequently what happens is the top 3 or 4, somewhere around there, typically match. Like you guys, it might not be the exact same order, but you're going to find a common name on that list usually. So then you can decide from there. And then, like I said, email your decisions to Selena no later than April 14th. Okay. So regarding the scholarships, each scholarship has a very defined criteria that students have to meet in order to apply. Now, the really cool thing about our portal is that for most scholarships, there's an eligibility on the back end. So you guys don't have to worry about this. By the time they get to you, the students definitely meet the criteria. Either they've been sorted by the portal or staff has sorted them based on criteria for some of our more challenging scholarships. Students can apply for multiple scholarships. In fact, it's encouraged that they apply for as many scholarships that they're qualified for. And they can be selected for more than one. So BCF does not have a policy that says students can only get one scholarship from us. Some of our scholarships, like I said, distribute more than one award. So some of them distribute up to 5. That will be noted on all the criteria sheets that are sent to you. So you will get a criteria sheet that has the amount of the scholarship, the number of awards, some criteria points, and then any other information that I might have regarding donors' intentions. Because we work really hard to make sure that we're meeting what the donor wanted when they set up these funds. Okay, so BCF has a pretty limited financial need-based scholarships. Most of them, they're not, that's not a criteria point, but for the ones that do, we have 2 ways that we score financial needs. So the first is based on their expected family contribution, which is their EFC from their FAFSA. We fully know that the FAFSA is not always an accurate picture of a student's financial need. It's based on a previous year's tax history. Things can change very rapidly in their life where their parents maybe are not able to contribute the amount that's listed. So we also ask a financial need essay so that we can get a more accurate picture of their financial circumstances, and then base our decision on those 2 things. So if you are scoring a financial need-based scholarship, likely you will score both of these aspects, or you might just be scoring one of them, because in the instance of our international scholarships, they obviously don't have an expected family contribution because they don't fill out a FAFSA. So you would only be scoring the financial need essay on that one. Okay. This is where I get complicated and I stop screen sharing this and try to move on to the next screen, and let's see if I can actually manage to do it today. Okay. All right, yay. Okay, so we are going to go through the portal. I have already logged in as a fake reviewer with a fake application that I filled out in my name. So when you log into the portal, it will look like this. If you are new, we're going to give you a password for the first time. It's going to ask you to type in your username and password. Your username is always your email. Password is for the first time, we'll give you a password and then it'll ask you to change it. If you've reviewed before, it's the same password from last year. If you're like me and have no capacity to remember your passwords, you can either do forgot password at the bottom of the login screen, or I'll reset it for you. Just send me an email and I'll fix that for you. But if you remembered it, I'm very impressed because I could never remember a password from the year before. Okay, let's start with the portal. Okay, so you click continue in this instance, but it would be red if you had not started your applications. It's a color coding system, so it'll start in red if you haven't started your application. It goes to that yellowy orange color if you have looked at it but you haven't finished, and then it goes to green when those applications are scored. So in our portal, the applications are on the right hand side. I seem a little off my game today. I had a migraine earlier. It's better now, but I'm still not quite, a little fuzzy still. So evaluations are on the left hand side, applications are on the right. If you want to view the whole application packet for a student, you would click on the right hand side at the top, the application packet. It will download a PDF of their application and any documents that they submitted with their application. For most of our scholarships, the only documents that are required are their transcripts and their EFC number from their FAFSA. Some outlying scholarships require more, but for most of them that you guys would be reviewing, it's those two documents. The application has a ton of information. If you scroll through their application, it's going to be their high school, their GPA, things like where they're going, if they're a freshman in college in September, or what they are, their major. I actually filled this out as what I was in college at Oregon State University. So it says agriculture with a minor in animal science. Their EFC, and it's going to talk about athletic activities and so on and so on and so on. So these questions, you don't really necessarily need to worry about. It is nice to read them, but these are all for us at BCF to be able to do eligibility on our back end of the portal so that they are matched with a scholarship. So these are all things that we ask so that they can be matched correctly with scholarships that they qualify for. Okay. These are the questions that really kind of matter and that you score. So on the evaluation, it tells you, extracurricular at the top, and it shares the question that matches the application. And then you're going to go through and read each of those and score on a 1 to 5 basis. So a 1 is like they didn't really tell you anything. You didn't get to know that student at all. You had no idea what I was passionate about. You had no idea what I did in high school. 2 is a little bit better. And then all the way up to 5 as like they really clearly and detailedly gave good details about what they were doing or what they were involved in or their education and career plans. They answered all parts of the question. Most of our questions have multiple parts. So like on the extracurricular activities, it's what they are, why you're passionate about it, and then also, positions, awards, and the name, etc. Same thing with career goals, right? So like, what are your specific education plans and career goals? What inspires you to achieve them? How do you expect your college experience will help you achieve those goals? So we're looking for the answers to all of those things when they answer their question. The 3 that we ask for every application, so these due diligence questions, the extracurricular activities, educational plans and career goals, and accomplishment. Forgive my gibber there because I was just trying to get this done. Those are all on everybody's application. Everyone scores them, same questions throughout. Now, depending on what application you're scoring. There could be some supplemental questions. So this is a supplemental question for all high school applications. For the college applications, we ask more about their work history. So we talk a lot, or we ask them about what they've done, if there's any internships, that kind of thing. And then depending on the scholarship that you're reviewing, there might be some additional questions that are more like how they meet the donor's intent, or, you know, do you have any barriers that are preventing you from going to college? And those would just, they would still be here on the evaluation as you scroll down. One thing to note on like the extracurricular activities here, where was that? They don't necessarily have to be school specific. So it can include working, it can include volunteer things, it can include things within their communities, their churches, their home. So it doesn't have to be your traditional school-based activities, because we know that not every student can do or wants to do school-based activities. So just so you're aware of that. And then the other two are pretty open-ended. So at any point, you can save. And then this returns you to the dashboard, or you can do the next application. So you guys will see a lot more of these on your application dashboard. It won't just be one, because it will be every scholarship that you're assigned. Like I said, it moves it through a stage of color. So if we were done scoring this one, it would be green. Just because it's green, though, doesn't mean you can't go back in and edit it. You can edit until that deadline of April 14th. So if you need to, some people's process is that they go and score everything and then come back and maybe like take a better look. Some people read all of them first and then go score. Some people score as they read, and the score is the score. And all of that is fine. Whatever your process is fine. I'm gonna stop sharing about maybe about this and go back to my presentation here for a sec. Okay. Okay, so the next steps for our process is Selena or I will send you an introduction email that has your subcommittee, who is on your subcommittee. It'll have a link to the portal. It'll have the criteria sheets. It will have any additional information I might have to share with you about the scholarship that you're reviewing. And then your next step would be to log into the portal and start viewing your applications. It's really important that you log in sooner rather than later to make sure that everything is working and you can view the applications, and that you don't have any questions. It is an online program, and sometimes there are glitches, and sometimes things didn't port over as seamlessly as I thought they did. So it's helpful if you look at that and then say, hey, Brittany, this doesn't look right. Or, hey, Brittany, you told me I was reviewing 7 different scholarships. There's literally one in there. I can't see that for you. So if you can log in sooner rather than later, that's super helpful. And then the key takeaways, every application has to be scored by a subcommittee member. Applications, the scores need to be entered into the portal. You guys are going to meet with your subcommittees and decide the recipients, and then I have to have the recommendations due by April 14th. So that's because I then have to compile all of them, send them to the grants committee for review, and then to the board for final approval. So we're on kind of a tight deadline, and that's why we ask that as a hard deadline of April 14th. So I'm gonna stop sharing all of this so I can see your faces and let you ask any questions you might have. most of you have done this before, so I anticipate that you know it all and you're good. It hasn't changed much. There's really no changes. So questions, comments, concerns? Jane, yes.
It came up in our subcommittee, our committee meeting last year, that when we scored an individual student's application for one scholarship, it also put that same score in every scholarship that individual had applied for. At first I thought, oh, that's great, I'm getting this done quickly. But in the committee, it was more like, well, we really need to think through how that person fits or doesn't fit with that given scholarship. So I didn't know, I know our committee chair was going to raise that. And can we give them, how do we give them different scores for different scholarships?
So the portal will not let you.
Okay.
A way to kind of work around that is if you think is to just make notes. So starting the scores are kind of a starting point. It's often that somebody who is not the highest score gets the scholarship based on committee feedback and how they think they meet the scholarship criteria and what the donor's intent was. So that's fine. And so you can always take notes of, like, let's say you're reviewing the Peters scholarship, right? And you're like, well, they really detailed in their career plans how they were going to be this major, which fits this scholarship's criteria point. I can't change my score, but they really meet the intention of that scholarship better than the person who scored the highest. Totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Helpful.
Anne, you have a question? Hold on, you're muted.
Last year, we ran into the issue where the scholarship was very specific about what the donor wanted. And we had so many applications. There was just no way we were going to get through all the applications. And so the ones that fit the scholarship were highlighted. And so we went through those, and there were still plenty of those, and we were able to easily designate who should get them. I mean, do we really have to go through if there are like 50 applications?
So
you sign me to a different committee?
Yes, Selena and I are going to be doing some of that work on our end. So do you happen to remember, were you on Mabel Game? Do you remember what scholarship you were?
It was the heating company, the Hendricks Heating.
Yes. Yeah, so so that one is unique in the fact that I can't set eligibility rules because they wanted everyone to qualify, but then they have a preference only of certain things. But a preference in our world is not a criteria point. So I can't sort people out by a preference. I can only sort people out by criteria.
Okay.
So we are going to be sorting on our end first. So Selena and I will do a pre-sift and make sure that the people who meet the preference go on the Hendricks, for example. And then anybody that meets more closely to the major criteria point that they set goes, nobody else does. Same thing with the Carlson. We are pre-evaluating financial need, and then only those with we've written some processes so that only those with high financial need go forward and the rest of them don't.
Okay, so we won't be getting 50 applications we have to score. That's really, really good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I was on that as Mabel Carlson, and it's basically a financial need. And it was very, I went in and pulled the FAFSA numbers, whatever it is, expected community contribution. And then you actually sent me a spreadsheet. So actually, if who's ever on that committee, either your pre-sorting sounds like it will cover that issue, or if you could send along that spreadsheet early on, that was very helpful last year.
For Mabel Game, Carlson, and Hendricks, we're doing some pre-sorting. There's some others too that we have to kind of sift through because the criteria points don't work in the. So the other thing about the application is sometimes we can't set an eligibility based on the requirement because it just won't work. Like it's just not a doable thing. So then we have to pre-sort some more of those. So. Any other questions? Okay, so just another note, some of you might only be reviewing one scholarship because there are some that still get a lot of applications even with all of their criteria points. The Trout scholarship is one that receives a lot of applications and there is no way to sort them smaller because their criteria is the upper 50% of the class. So that leaves a lot open. So one group is only reading Trout. Another group is might have 4 or 5 scholarships, but there's only a few of those. Some of them might only have one application. You might have like 3 different scholarships that have 1, 2, or 3 scholarship applications. So it might look like a lot of different scholarships on your home screen when you get in there. So, okay. With Jane, do you have another question?
Yeah, I was thinking through, trying to remember a year ago what we talked about. It was my first time through, so I was kind of trying to figure it out as I went. And so one thing I heard earlier in your presentation tonight is only some scholarships are really based and about need.
Mm-hmm.
I think, so is there guidance? Because I know our conversation did go to need-based, let's say once we had our top couple of candidates and then we kind of had need come in as a deciding factor. Is that what you would say is good, bad, not to do, yes, do?
So that would be a not to do. So unless you are given a scholarship that you are scoring their EFC and that financial need-based question, and in the criteria sheets that we clearly say need-based scholarship, unless it says that, it's not a need-based scholarship and that should actually not be taken into consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? No? Awesome. Okay, well, that is all that I had for you. We will be sending you emails. Hopefully, we will also send you the PowerPoint and a recording so you can reference it if you need to. Be on the lookout for that tomorrow and or Friday, hopefully tomorrow, but we'll see how it goes. So thank you, everybody. It was good to see you and happy reading. I hope you're inspired. They're pretty awesome kids.
Thank you.